Hello students, how are you all? Welcome to my third session on current electricity. In this particular session, we'll be concentrating on, firstly, we'll talk about Ohm's law, and then we'll talk about resistance, then we'll talk about factors affecting the resistance of a conductor, and then resistivity or specific resistance of a particular conductor's material, and then we'll go ahead and make a proof of Ohm's law. That means we'll verify whether Ohm's law is applicable or not. Then we'll talk about conductance. Okay, then lastly we'll conclude to this particular session by discussing about conductivity. Fine. So are we ready to move ahead? So let's move on to the main part, that is first part, that is Ohm's law. Now the statement of Ohm's law is quite evidently simple, and it happens to include everything inside it. Now if you just take a look at the statement is quite simple, and if you just notice here, we let us not forget about George Simon Ohm. In fact, he is the German physicist and a professor at Munich. Okay, in fact, he came up with this fascinating law, wherein he practically showed the applicability of Ohm's law. In fact, let us salute to George Simon Ohm on this occasion. So let's move on to the statement of this particular law. The statement of this law is, as I was mentioning to you, it is very simple, as stated, like according to Ohm's law, the electric current flowing through a conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference across its ends, provided the temperature and other physical conditions remain constant. So in fact, this happens to be one of the most simplest laws or simplest statements that we can understand as, right? So over here we can see that electric current, as I am mentioning here, electric current as capital I here, as you can observe here, electric current is capital I, and it flowing through a conductor, flowing through a particular conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference. That potential difference, let us consider it as what? V. So if you just observe this potential difference as V, right? So capital V across its ends provided. That means suppose if I take a conductor at both the ends, across both the ends, if you just consider the or measure the potential, then the difference in the potential between these two ends, that is potential difference, and in common man's language it is also called as voltage. If you just recall your common man's language, it is voltage. So hence we can in simple say that according to Ohm's law, electric current capital I or electric current flowing through a conductor is directly proportional to the voltage across its ends of the conductor. Okay, and provided here the main conditions that we should not forget, provided what all things, the temperature, okay, right, temperature and other physical conditions. Now other physical conditions means like strain, it might be, it can be stress, it can be volume related stress, it can be a bulk stress. Okay, so it can be any kind of other physical conditions. Okay, so if we are keeping all of them constant, under that situation we tend to see that the proportionality between electric current I and potential difference V remains same. Okay, so if we just rehearse this particular statement, it is quite simple, as you all can notice here, right? So I hope it is clear to you all, right? So shall we move ahead to the next part of our discussion? So if we just take a look at the next part, now in the next part we'll talk about what exactly we can state mathematically. So according to Ohm's law, as electric current capital I is directly proportional to V. So as we can notice here, electric current capital I, as we are saying capital I here, electric current capital I is directly proportional to V. So according to this particular approach, we can say that I is directly proportional to V. If I is directly proportional to V, then from equality of proportionality, we can say that V is also directly proportional to I. So according to this, we can say V is equal to some constant K into I. And K is a proportionality constant. According to the mathematical rules, we must go ahead and place a proportionality constant. So obviously we are placing a proportionality constant here, and this proportionality constant that we are taking as what? K. So now let us move ahead to the format where K, it is called as what? It is called as the electrical resistance. Electrical resistance, or simply we can say the resistance of the conductor. So resistance or electrical resistance, what we can say here, this is electrical resistance. Now let me just remove this because it has become improportionate. So now what is, according to Ohm's law, we have went ahead and brought down this particular equation as V is equal to K into I, and K is a constant of proportionality, and this constant of proportionality we can call it as what? The electrical resistance, right? Electrical resistance, or simply the resistance, and this resistance we will denote it by what? Capital R. Okay, fine. So now I hope this particular approach is clear to you. Hence, because of this particular proportionality constant, now I can reduce back Ohm's law as what? V is equal to I into R, right? So V is equal to I into R is one of the most promising equation that we can adopt here, right? So this is our Ohm's law based statement that we have went ahead and took a look. So V is equal to IR is the statement that we are having, right? Fine. So I hope this particular approach is clear to you and this discussion is clear to you. Now let us move ahead to our next part of discussion. Now if we just fine. Now let us take a look at the next part, that is, what is resistance? Now since we have understood about V is equal to IR equation, then what is resistance? Resistance, it must be, now let me just recall back the etymology of resistance. Resistance is derived from a Latin term called resistos. So if we just take a look at this Latin term resistos, I'm unable to write it here, so I suppose you can jot down whatever I'm saying. It is Latin term resistos. Resistos means to oppose something. That is resistos. Fine. From that resistos, the term resistance has come. Then from Ohm's law, we have understood that V is equal to I into R, right? So according to this, I can very easily say R should be equal to what? V divided by I. And if we consider a graph containing these two things, so the graph, for example, if you just take a look at voltage versus current graph, VI graph, in this voltage versus current graph, we can comfortably see that the slope is nothing but tan theta, and tan theta is equal to what? Opposite by adjacent side. So according to that, the slope of this particular graph should be what? Voltage by current, V by I. So accordingly, V by I becomes the slope, and that slope is nothing but what? Resistance. This is how we can understand the mathematical part of it. Hence we can say slope is equal to resistance R here. Then, but we can comfortably understand one more thing, that this resistance R, even though it is the ratio of V by I, but V by I ratio, even though it is going ahead and depending on, but it is completely independent of potential difference set across the conductor, and it is completely independent of the amount of current that is flowing through the conductor. So this fact we should remember. And it not only this, but it also depends upon what? It depends upon the geometrical configuration, that means length, area of cross section of the conductor, right? So if we just take a look, address to this length L I am saying, okay, then area of cross section capital A of the conductor, and most importantly the temperature. So these are the three things upon which the resistance of a conductor depends. Okay. Now let us move ahead and take a look at our next part of discussion. Now let us go ahead and define resistance. What is resistance? Right. So resistance, it can be very easily defined as the property of an electric conductor by virtue of which it opposes the flow of charges and hence electric current through it. Remember what it is: the property of an electric conductor by virtue of which it opposes the flow of charges. Now in my first session we have understood that flow of charge is nothing but what? Flow of charges current, no, with respect to time, right? So it opposes the flow of charges and hence electric current. So these are the two important things that we should remember. So what all things it opposes? By the virtue of which it opposes the flow of charges, and that is nothing but what? It is nothing but electric current, right? So hence we can say the flow of charge or electric current, it is opposed because of the property of a conductor, and this particular property we call it as what? Resistance. I hope this definition is clear to you all. Fine. So now this is the particular definition that we must remember. Now let us go ahead with the next thing after definition. So this clearly means that given more resistance, less will be the current for a given potential difference. Is it not? Right? So if we increase the opposition, if we increase the resistance, what happens here? The resistance increases, implies it will oppose more, and this more opposition will make current to flow in less amount. This is how we can understand the property of resistance as such. I hope this is clear. Fine. So hence we can say resistance, it is the opposition and it is the ratio of potential difference applied across the conductor to the electric current flowing through it. I hope this particular part is clear to you. Fine. So thus finally we can say R is equal to V divided by I. Now let's move on to the next part here. If you just take a look at next part, that is continuation of what we are doing here. Now let us talk about the properties, that means physically related properties. So first one, we can say that it is a scalar quantity, obviously, correct. Second property, the dimensions. If we just take a look at dimensions, how we can derive, I'll show you step by step here. So if you just observe here, so we know that R has the dimensions of potential difference as well as R has dimension of current. So that means R is equal to what? V divided by I. So that particular definition I am utilizing here. So according to this definition only, I am considering R is equal to V divided by I. Then hence we can say, but potential difference V is nothing but what? Work divided by charge. This is one fact that we have to remember. So potential difference is nothing but work by charge, that we have to remember here. Fine, it is work divided by charge. Fine. Then according to our knowledge, we know that work done has dimensions of ml square t raised to minus 2, and charge has dimensions of time into electric current T into A. So if we just apply and combine these things, we can very clearly understand that the dimensions of potential difference can be written as what? M L square T raised to minus 3 A raised to minus 1. So this is what we are having, right? Now hence, since we have understood what are the dimensions associated with potential difference, now let us go ahead and take a look at the final form. Hence we can say that resistance R can be written as what? ml square T raised to minus 3 A raised to minus 1 divided by A, and this factor A belongs where? This factor A is dimension of electric current. Fine. So thus combining these two again, finally will arrive at the dimensional equation of resistance as R is equal to ml square T raised to minus 3 A raised to minus 2. So I hope this particular dimensional equation is clear to you. Kindly rehearse this particular approach. Remember the way in which we need to derive the dimensions of resistance, because it can be asked in your examination for 2 marks. Okay. Now let us move ahead with the next part. Fine. Now let's move on to the next part, wherein we'll be understanding how we can take a look at much in-depth analysis of resistance. So hence our first thing, the last part that in the physical properties that we are supposed to understand is the SI unit. SI unit is ohm, and ohm has got symbol of capital omega. As you can see here, we have symbol as capital omega, which has been denoted here. So kindly remember this particular symbol, and then now let us go ahead and define what is 1 ohm, and this definition will do it merely by using the mathematical form of Ohm's law, that is V is equal to IR, or R is equal to V by I. So if we just take a look at this, since 1 ohm is nothing but 1 volt divided by 1 ampere, so therefore we can say, hence the resistance of a conductor is said to be 1 ohm if a current of 1 ampere flows through it on applying a potential difference of 1 volt. Remember, very clear, very simple definition. We can say that the resistance of a conductor is said to be 1 ohm if a current of 1 ampere flows through it on applying a potential difference of 1 volt. Fine. Is it clear to you all? So let me just clear these things firstly. Fine. So this is how we can define 1 ohm. So kindly remember this definition, and in the future, in forthcoming chapters, we'll define ampere also. Okay. But right now, we'll remember this definition of 1 ohm as we are seeing here. Okay. So now let's move on to the next part of resistance again. Students, to be very specific with you all, I am just defining the intermittent properties, and we are going in stages. Okay, and remember, in the future of this particular chapter, in the future course, we'll be dealing with the variation of resistance with temperature as well, but right now here we'll not be concentrating on that. Okay, and under resistance, let us take a look at practically used resistances. Now any material that has considerable resistance, we call it by the name resistor. Okay, so what is a resistor? Resistor is a device that is used to provide resistance in a circuit. Fine. So clearly we can understand what a resistor is. So how they are represented, symbolic representation. Now let us take a look at how they are represented. Now if you just take a look at first one, a fixed resistor. Fixed resistor means its value will not change. Okay, fixed resistor whose value is constant. That is first one. Its symbol, as you can notice here, it is quite simply mentioned like this. Fine. Now second one is a variable resistor. As you can notice, variable resistor, how it is denoted. Please remember this symbolic representation. And in the future, in the future, we will be concentrating on this kind of variable resistor in some circuits, where in those circuits we denote a varying resistance like a rheostat based resistance, or there will make use of this particular symbol what we are using here. Okay, and third one, it is a potential divider. Potential divider resistance is our third kind, and its symbol you can very easily notice how exactly it is denoted. I hope these things are quite clear to you all. Again, let me repeat, pause the video, draw these diagrams and be prepared. Fine. Okay, now let's move on to the next part. Some of the meters that we are utilizing, some of those meters, what are those meters? Like we have voltmeter, ammeter, galvanometer. These are some of the typical varieties of measuring instruments that we use in current electricity, and voltmeter is denoted by capital V with a circle. As you can see here, it is voltmeter. Fine. So this is voltmeter symbol that I am indicating, and this is ammeter symbol. So ammeter, if in any circuit you see such symbol, you remember that it is ammeter. And remember, voltmeter is used to measure potential difference and ammeter is used to measure the current. Fine. So these are two instruments, and third instrument, that is galvanometer. Galvanometer, actually it goes ahead and makes the measurement of current in a small value, very small amount it will measure, like in milliampere or microampere. So this is the different types of meters or measuring devices that are used in current electricity. I hope this is clear to you all. Now let us move on to the next. Fine. Now let us move ahead with how we can make measurement of resistance of a wire. Suppose you have unknown resistance wire, or a wire whose resistance you don't know. For example, here this is the wire that I am saying. I don't know what is the resistance of this wire. Now under this particular situation, I'll make use of a very simple circuit as shown here. As you can see in this particular circuit, battery and ammeter, these two are connected in series. Okay, and these two are again connected in series with the wire. So with the wire we are connecting what? Battery and ammeter in series. So this is our first thing that we have to remember. And with the wire again I am connecting one voltmeter. Voltmeter is connected in parallel to this particular resistance. So accordingly we can say battery and ammeter are connected in series with the wire, and voltmeter is connected in parallel with the wire. Then the ratio of voltmeter reading. Now voltmeter, what it does, voltmeter measures the potential difference. So very clearly, ratio of this voltmeter reading and ammeter reading. Now these two ratios if we consider, then we can comfortably understand V divided by I. V divided by I is nothing but what? Resistance R. Hence we have made the measurement of resistance. I hope this is clear to you. Fine. So shall we move ahead to our next discussion? So now let's take a look at what are the various factors that affect the resistance. So if we just try to understand factors affecting the resistance, we can say that At constant temperature, the resistance R of a conductor is, number one, directly proportional to its length. So hence we can say R is directly proportional to L here, right? So R is directly proportional to L. Then accordingly again, secondly, it is inversely proportional to area of cross section. So R is inversely proportional to area of cross section. As you are seeing here, we are showing R is inversely proportional to area A. Then third one, it depends again on the nature of the material. This is again one thing that we should remember, nature of the material. What is nature of the material I am talking about? Nature of material, it is nothing but the atomic level nature. That means arrangement of atoms, interatomic distance, how many electrons are there per unit volume. These all things are what? These are the properties called as the nature of the material. I hope this is clear. Fine. So let's move ahead and take a look at what are the things that we can combine. By combining these things we will obtain. So that we will see now. So combining these factors, we can say that R is proportionate to L divided by A. As you can understand here, R is proportionate to L by A. Very simple, right? Then we can comfortably see that as R is proportionate to L by A, combining these things, what we'll get? R is equal to rho L by A. Rho L by A. This is one of the most interesting equations that we have obtained here. Then the question arises, my friends, what is this value called rho? What is this rho? Rho is the constant of proportionality, and this constant of proportionality has got something to do with what? The material itself. So obviously rho must be the property of the material. Okay, so hence what it is called as? It is called as resistivity or specific resistance of the material of the conductor. Fine. So resistivity or specific resistance of the material of the conductor, that is called as what? Rho. Fine. So shall we move on? Now let us move ahead to the next part of our discussion. So next would be, we'll be talking about resistivity. Now the previous session or previous part, we have already seen that resistivity is rho in that particular equation. The equation was given by R is equal to rho L by A. In that we called it as what? Resistivity or specific resistance, and it is denoted by symbol rho, Greek alphabet rho, right? So according to this, now let us go ahead and consider once again R is equal to rho L by A. Now in this particular equation we tend to see that rho has been mentioned. So if we just take a look at some assumptions, okay, empirical assumptions. Now let me consider L as 1 unit, okay, and A as 1 unit. That means A is area, so hence I am saying 1 square unit here, and L is 1 unit, which is the length. Then very clearly R will become equal to what? R will become equal to rho. So this is how we can understand the empirical nature. Then can we not define this particular value of resistivity in a more simple way, right? So we'll apply the same thing that we have used in this particular empirical assumption. So according to this, we can say hence a specific resistance or resistivity of a material of a conductor may be defined as the resistance of a conductor of that particular material. That means I am talking about some material. So hence we can say the specific resistance or resistivity of a material may be defined as the resistance of a conductor of that material. Okay, having what kind of length? Unit length and unit area of cross section. Very simple, right? So here as we put L equal to 1, A equal to 1, then we are getting R equal to rho. So this is the same approach I am utilizing. So hence, once again, let me restate the statement here or definition. Hence, resistivity or specific resistance of a material may be defined as the resistance of a conductor of that material having unit length and unit area of cross section. I suppose this particular definition is clear. The modality is clear. Kindly be thorough in this particular definition, because this definition can be asked in your exam. Fine. And this empirical approach, you please remember. And once again, let me remind you, kindly pause this video and copy down all those things that I am mentioning here. Okay. Now let us move on to the next. Now under this part, we'll be defining various properties related to resistivity. Fine. So as we had done already in case of resistance, we'll follow the same approach here. Okay. So first property, by considering R equal to rho L by A, we can say that rho is equal to RA by L. Fine. Rho is equal to R into A divided by L. So according to this, we can comfortably say that since resistance R and area A and length L, all three are scalars, right? So since all three are scalars, the ratio, it must be what? A scalar quantity only, right? So according to this, we can say that resistance is a scalar quantity. Then secondly, dimensional equation, how we can derive the dimensions, that we'll see. Since rho is equal to RA by L, here capital A is area, but capital A is also used in case of electric currents dimension. So hence I am mentioning here, instead of capital A, I am mentioning area. I suppose it is okay with you all. Fine. So I am mentioning this as area. So hence we can say R into area divided by L. Then resistance dimension we have already derived. So this is the dimension that we have derived in my previous discussion, right? So that I am inserting once again. Then we know area has a dimension of L square, then length has dimension of capital L. So combining these three, we are arriving at what? ML square, ML cube, T raised to minus 3, A raised to minus 2. Now these are the dimensions that are present in case of resistivity. I hope this is clear. Fine. So kindly pause this video and write down all these derivations, okay, and practice these derivations of dimensions at least 4 to 5 times, so that you can become perfect in it. Fine. So hence since we have derived dimensions of resistivity, now next part SI unit. Now according to the same definition that we are using, RA by L, let us go ahead and make use of that same definition, and then applying this, we can say R has SI unit of ohm, R has SI unit of ohm here. Fine. Then meter square is SI unit of area. Then M or meter is what? SI unit of length. Then if we combine these three, then we'll obtain the SI unit as what? Ohm meter. Ohm meter. So ohm meter. This is the SI unit of specific resistance or resistivity of a material. I hope this particular discussion is clear. Fine. Shall we proceed to the next part? Fine then. Now let's go ahead and make proof of Ohm's law from electron theory. Now electron theory is the theory that we have learnt in my second part of discussion. Those who have not attended my second session, kindly watch the same second session on YouTube, and its link already has been posted in your respective groups. And suppose you don't have the link, kindly send me a personal request. I'll share you the link. Fine. Now let us move on to the electron theory based proof of Ohm's law, or let us go ahead and justify how much Ohm's law is truthful. Fine. So let us take a look at that. In order to do that, we'll consider one particular conductor having length small l, capital A as the area of cross section. As you can see here, this is the conductor that I am utilizing, and in this particular conductor I am showing various factors. Now one end of this conductor is connected to positive terminal and other end is connected to negative terminal of a cell or a battery, and then across this conductor, that means in between positive end and the negative end of this conductor, there is a potential difference V which has been set, and length of this conductor, as I had mentioned already, it is L here that we are showing in this diagram. And since this conductor is connected to a source of current, obviously there is a current, and this current that is flowing through the conductor has been shown as capital I. Fine. And its direction has been shown as, you can see that white arrow. So just oblige by that and follow that particular direction. So that means current is flowing from positive end to negative end, and this is according to the same conventional current direction that we had discussed in my second session. Fine. So I hope this part is clear. The diagram is clear. Now let me just go ahead and make or erase these all things for the safety purpose, for the clarity purpose. Now let me just move ahead now. So accordingly, I am using our standard approach only. Let us assume some of the things. Okay, let capital V is equal to applied potential difference between the ends of wire, then capital I is equal to resulting current through the conductor, then Vd is equal to drift velocity, tau is equal to relaxation time, and then E is equal to charge on the electrons, M is equal to mass of the electron, then small n is equal to number density of the electrons, and then E is equal to applied electric field. So capital E is applied electric field. And if you recall my previous discussion, what was the direction that we had defined for electric field? Electric field is directed always from positive end to negative end of the conductor. So very clearly, in the direction in which current is flowing here, in the same direction applied electric field is being exerted. Fine. So this is the assumption set that we are using. Now let's move on to the next further part of our derivation. So as you all are aware that we are following a strict lockdown here. So accordingly I am using mathematical equation editor. I am taking a lot of pain in order to make you people understand these all concepts. So kindly do not ignore any of these discussions. Kindly be thorough with them. This is my utter advice. So let us move on now. So now first step, let us define drift velocity. In my previous discussion we had derived drift velocity equation in terms of electric field. Remember that? So according to that equation we know that Vd is equal to small e capital E tau divided by m. And over here we can understand that negative sign that we are supposed to mention here for charge of the electron. Charge of electron is negative. That I am ignoring here to be very precise, because I am using only the magnitude of that drift velocity. Fine. This is our first step. Remember. Nextly, let us define electric field. In my previous discussion I had told you that electric field is nothing but ratio of potential difference to the length of the conductor. So that ratio I am utilizing here. So hence E is equal to V by L we have to define. And then once we have defined E is equal to V by L, now let us take a look at the submission of this E is equal to V by L into my first equation. So according to that we can get drift velocity Vd is equal to E into tau divided by m into V divided by L. for your clarity, I am using or I am keeping V by L separately. I am using this V by L in the place of E, but here I am mentioning V by L ratio separately here, my friends, in order to make you less confusing. So for that reason, for clarity purpose. Fine. As we already know from my previous session that current I is nothing but NEAVD, right? So according to this particular derivation, if we substitute the value of VD in this equation, then we'll arrive at this particular equation. I is equal to NE square A tau by M into V by L. Again, I am keeping V by L outside this particular perimeter of the equation in order to again to be very specifically clear. Okay, fine. Now according to this substitution, we obtained this equation. So now let us go ahead and take a look at ratio V divided by. Why do we require ratio V divided by? Because in Ohm's law we know that V divided by I is equal to constant. V is directly proportional to I. That means V divided by I must be a constant. So thus I have taken a ratio. I have converted this top equation to ratio V divided by, then V divided by I is equal to, we have obtained this particular equation, M by NE square tau into L divided by A, right? Fine. Now, but M divided by NE square tau is nothing but our friend resistivity. Resistivity. So resistivity has been introduced in this particular discussion. So M by NE square tau is equal to what? Resistivity. This part you please remember. Okay. What is the equation for resistivity in terms of electron theory? It is mass of electron divided by number density N into charge square E square into relaxation time tau. Fine. So this is the ratio that you please remember. Okay, so it is M divided by NE square tau is equal to resistivity rho. Okay, thus finally what we are getting, V divided by I is equal to rho into L divided by R. My friends, we had derived this expression previously, remember? So we have obtained rho L by A. Rho L by A is nothing but what? R. Fine. So is it not quite easy here? It's quite easy, right? So you all can happily make a derivation of this. Now what is R? R is nothing but the constant of that material. Fine. It is the resistance of the material, and thus I can say V divided by I is equal to constant, or V is equal to IR, or I is directly proportional to V. This is what we have proved in or derived or defined in case of Ohm's law. Fine. So this is the same justification that we have given here. I suppose this is clear. Fine. So kindly pause this video, write down all these steps one after the other. Now let me just clear these markings that I have made in order to be more specifically clear while you people are taking them down. So this is the step in which we can go ahead and make this derivation. I hope this derivation is clear. Let me just give you a brief of how we can make this derivation once again. Start with drift velocity and electric field equation. Once you are done with that, then define electric field as potential difference divided by length. Substitute it back in the drift velocity equation. Once you have substituted it back in the drift velocity equation, then again define I is equal to NEAVD, that is relationship between electric current and drift velocity. Then combine electric current and drift velocity equations by using first two equations, okay, that we have derived. Then once you combine everything and then make a multiplication of everything, finally arrive at a ratio of V divided by I. Then in that particular V divided by I ratio, remove off M by NE square tau as resistivity. Okay, so if you replace M by NE square tau as resistivity, then we will obtain a particular equation, that is V divided by I is equal to rho L by R. Hence we have arrived at I is directly proportional to V. And this is one of the most important questions as far as your examination is concerned. So I suggest, I request, kindly be thorough in this particular derivation. Fine. So this part is clear. Is it clear to you all? Fine. Shall we move on to the next part now? So finally, friends, now next part would be conductance. One of the most interesting concept again, conductance. Now you were talking to me, or if you can ask me a question, sir, you were talking always about opposition, resistance, right? Is there not a way in which we can say there is conductance in which current is flowing? Can we not define flow of current or the easiness with which the current can flow through a conductor? That particular thing can be observed and very comfortably stated with the help of a physical property of that particular conductor called as conductance. Fine. So it is the antonym of resistance. Okay, remember. So conductance of a conductor is the ease with which electric charges and hence electric current flows through it and is equal to the reciprocal of its resistance. So I am combining two statements here. As far as the definition goes, it's a combination of two statements. First statement is what? It is the ease with which electric charges and hence electric current. So ease with which electric charges and hence electric current flows through the conductor and is equal to what? Equal to the reciprocal of its resistance. So this is what we should remember. Fine. So I hope I am clear on this particular definition. So what is conductance? Let us go ahead and restate it once again. The conductance of a conductor is the ease with which electric charges and hence current flows through it and is equal to the reciprocal of its resistance. Okay, so kindly repeat this once and time. So kindly be thorough with each and every concept that we are learning here, and this definition, you please remember, this can be asked for 1 mark. Fine. So I suppose this particular definition is clear to all of you. Let me just clear the screen once again for the clarity purpose. Fine. Now let's move on to the next thing what we can get here. So hence we can say, thus conductance, it is denoted by capital G. Conductance capital G is equal to 1 divided by resistance. So hence G is equal to 1 divided by capital R. I hope this is clear. Fine. So hence my request, kindly try deriving the dimensions, please. Okay, because I have already derived the dimensions of resistance. So please try to derive the dimensions of conductance. Okay, kindly post it to me in the comment box. Fine. Can you do that? Fine. Then now let's take a look at SI unit. SI unit is quite easily per ohm, 1 divided by ohm, which is per ohm, which can also be called as MHO. It is pronounced as mho. Okay, MHO, which is ulta of ohm. if you just observe the alphabetic order also, OHM was ohm. So here reciprocal of OHM is what? MHO. Is it not? So it's quite evidently simple. You please remember this. But this is not as such the final unit, my friends. Now we know that per ohm is or mho is also called as Siemens. Siemens. Okay. So hence Siemens is having a symbol of capital S. Fine. So hence, what is the SI unit of conductance, my friends? Then Siemens. Siemens is nothing but what? Per ohm. Per ohm is nothing but what? Mho. MHO. So shall we remember all these things? Fine. So let us move ahead to our next part, conductivity. So conductivity is just similar to what we have dealt with in conductance. In case of conductance, here the same thing that we are arriving with. Okay. So conductivity, it has got a very simple definition. It is the reciprocal of resistivity of a material. Fine. So what is conductivity? The reciprocal of resistivity of a material. That is conductivity. Okay, so hence conductivity rho, it is denoted by sigma. I'm sorry, it is denoted by sigma. Sigma is equal to 1 divided by resistivity. Resistivity is denoted by rho, hence we can say sigma is equal to 1 by rho. Again, I am giving you this assignment of deriving dimensions of conductivity. Can you try it, please? Okay, so then let us talk about SI unit. SI unit is quite simple. It is per ohm per meter. Per ohm per meter. Fine. Per ohm per meter, or what is per ohm? It is mho, right? Mho per meter. Fine. Mho per meter. Mho. Fine. Okay. Now let's take a look at. But what is 1 mho? 1 mho is Siemens, right? So hence, can we just write it in a proper manner? Is it not Siemens per meter? Fine. So we have arrived at Siemens per meter as our final SI unit for conductivity. Fine. So friends, up till now, whatever we have discussed, I think this part is very much clear to you all. I request as well as suggest, please, please go through each of these discussions and be thorough. Okay, then only the pain what we are taking in order to create these videos, that will get a fruitful way of answer. Fine. So I will end my discussion at this part. So I would like to say thank you. But let us see what exactly